Pictures we were seeing are really historic in what we were able to see.
Americans are very, very loving people, very warm people. They're so happy to see, you know, the people wanting this liberation, and we feel like we're doing a wonderful thing, not realizing that there's saboteurs amongst the groups, not realizing there's suicide bombers amongst the groups. There's guerrilla fighters there, so we have to keep our antennas up at all times. It's a war.
We're looking at a live picture from Al Arabia, where they are saying on this TV that that is part of a missile that has been discovered. We continue now with our press conference by Chris Vernon, Colonel Chris Vernon, the British military spokesman.
Yeah. Coming out of Basra towards us. They were engaged by small arms fire from the outskirts of Basra. It's pretty rubbly. It looks like it's not like Kuwait at all. The outskirts are very decrepit and dilapidated. From what we could see, and this is people sitting in warriors and tanks at some distance, but with pretty good optics, they were firing into their own people. The people panicked and ran back into the town. We can't validate it any more than being observed. We tried to engage the positions they were coming from, but it was pretty difficult because clearly they were operating from windows, from doors in urban areas. Yeah, and there was another, then about the battle group in the south, I think it was the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, observed a similar occasion on further south. They've got one of the other bridges. I haven't got the exact location of which battle group's on which bridge. Yeah.
Last time you spoke to us, you said that Basra was not a legitimate resolution target, and that you would like to avoid urban warfare as a command. How much is that altered? You have some forces taking out Baath Party. Does that mean you now engage in urban warfare, and how does that complicate your operation?
No, we've got to be careful at any stage to avoid collateral damage, both to the buildings of Basra and to the people. To do otherwise would totally go against our aim, our secondary or tertiary aim of building the confidence up there. Therefore, this morning, the Black Watch mounted an operation into the centre of Basra with tanks and infantry in armoured personnel vehicles, warriors. They drove in and destroyed 2 statues. I haven't got the detail, and I'm not sure if they're the ones of Saddam Hussein, in, out, and back again. The purpose of that is psychological, to show the people, on the one hand, he does not wield influence, and when we wish, we will strike at any representative token of that eroding influence. It also, I should imagine, has sent quite a shock.
And Saddam's tactics, these are pure Saddam Hussein tactics. Don't forget that it was Saddam Hussein who offered $25,000 to the family of every suicide bomber that went to Israel and spread terrorism and committed suicide bombings in Israel. So this is pure Saddam, typical Saddam Hussein.
From Abu Dhabi TV, you can see smoke in the distance. It looks like civilians walking down the road, heading toward the camera, where some soldiers and photographers await. Of course, we have heard earlier from a British spokesman about an hour or so, an hour and a half ago, who said, and I quote, "Targeting and eradication of the Baath Party in the Basra province," end quote, is now the main focus of British coalition forces in that region. And he repeated it twice for emphasis. The British at this point ring the city. There have been reports of Baath militia firing on Iraqi civilians. And significantly, several hours ago, there was an airstrike by coalition jets targeting a building, a 2-story building that was believed to have some 200 of these militia fighters inside the building, having some sort of a meeting. Precision-guided weaponry, precision-guided missiles entered the building. It was a delayed fuse. They exploded once inside the building, destroying the building. No casualty report on how many of those, what was believed to be 200 fighters inside that building. We're waiting on that still. These are live pictures again. You see British forces maintaining that ring around the city of Basra, where the battle continues and will most likely all day long.
You see just a mass evacuation right now of Iraqi civilians trying to leave the besieged city of Basra. Earlier, in fact, Iraqi paramilitary forces fired mortars and machine guns on about 1,000 of those Iraqi civilians. This happening yesterday. But also, we should point out that U.S. military officials say that warplanes there were able to destroy a building where about 200 Iraqi paramilitary fighters were thought to be meeting. And we do expect to hear more on that at a CENTCOM briefing out of Doha, Qatar at 7 a.m. Eastern time. But what you are looking at right now, I think, pretty much tells the story. Mass evacuations of Iraqi civilians trying to leave the city there, which has been besieged for days. You see a lot of smoke in the distance as well. Just some of the remains and evidence of the fighting that has been going on there between coalition forces and Saddam Hussein's Fedayeen, or paramilitary groups, which have taken siege and fought very hard against coalition forces. We'll continue to keep our eye on that live picture as well.
Yeah, but what about getting this job done?
You just comes along, you know, being a Marine, you know, sometimes you gotta, you know, just roll with what you get. Sometimes you sit in for a little while.
And it's a disgrace on those villains if they have any feeling of morals. Anyway, we will continue to work, and that will never affect us in any way, in any sense. The second point, now we are encouraging several groups, lawyers, professors of international law, in order to sue those war criminals and those people from different nations and different countries are united to start suing the criminal of war number one, George W. Bush, as a war criminal in the War Crime Tribune, or in other shapes. And we have already started.